You're listening to the iRacers Lounge podcast, where we discuss everything iRacing in a casual setting. Enjoy. Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer, where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, Brian McCubbin.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
Hey, David Hall.
Hello, hello.
Greg Hectus.
What's up, guys?
And Tony Groves.
Evening, gentlemen.
Welcome. Well, today we'll be reviewing the Coke Series race at Kansas with the voice of eNASCAR, Evan Pasocco, and the season finale of the Porsche Super Cup Series at Monza, and all the great content you've come to expect.
Also, remember that you can follow along with us on your mobile device in real time as you listen to the show and see for yourself all the great topics and products that we'll be discussing, and by visiting iRacersLounge.com and selecting show notes. We hope to see you there.
Coming soon, Grid Finder 2.0, a complete overhaul to better suit the sim driver's needs after many new features to its already robust search functions, including allowed controller types, driver assist, race length, and whether leagues are currently recruiting. The changes don't stop with the leagues page. Grid Finder is also rebuilding the paint booth, commentary box, and the merchandise page. The site is still fully functional as they work through the beta phase to make sure that Grid Finder 2.0 launch is as slick as the new logo. Visit www.grid-finder.com to find a league or to upload your own. Grid Finder, the home of online sim racing leagues. We do appreciate them here at iRacers Lounge. And Evan Pasocco, welcome.
Thanks for having me back, guys. And sorry I wasn't able to talk post Richmond, but I'm back on the mainland and happy to be here.
Well, interestingly, I missed that show too. So the guys did good without us.
I don't know if that means we're replaceable or not, but I'll try to bring some insights.
Okay, so this time is round 7. It was Kansas. You got the right guide to figure out this gentleman start your engine. It was quite the command.
Yeah, and props, because it's something we've been doing all year, and even sometimes you'll see somebody do it at the track, right? And it's a little bit haphazardly maybe, but no, we had Patrick Warren, who's the president of Kansas Speedway, do it. And the story I was told is that he wasn't even scheduled to do it. But he asked if we needed somebody to, and he went 100%. I saw a couple of veins popping out, so that's the kind of commitment we appreciate. I think it's the best commitment we've had all year.
It was perfect. I loved it. I think a lot of people do. It got a lot of traction on Twitter. Let's get to the racing. I was Luza on the pole. Then around lap 7, Femi Olat blows it up, but it stays green. Cars on either are either on the very bottom or they're on the very top, it seems like. And then lap 18, Sebring gets side by side for the lead, but never gets it done, then falls back in line behind Luza. But there was a real neat webcam there with Isaac Gann and his dorm room buddies in his last days of college.
Yeah, because the semester is about to end, so I guess the guys have made it a bit of a tradition, is the story I heard, where for the last 2 to 3 races or so, they'd all pile up in the room next door and watch and cheer them on. So I think that was a really cool angle that we got, and it was awesome, not to get ahead of ourselves, but to kind of get them in on the action post race as well in Isaac's interview. So I thought that was pretty sweet. And you talk about that battle with Chris trying to get to the race lead. I mean, it wasn't like a Kevin Harvick, Toby Logano thing, right? At a Kansas or Kentucky or wherever that battle was last year in the Cup Series, right, where the car in second's faster, but because of the package they can't get by. It had to do with the multiple grooves where you talk about the inside and the outside were both options, and at that point, the drivers had started to move up off of that white line. And the inside was open for Chris. He got a nose in front a couple of times early, but just couldn't execute it. And I think it goes to show how even both of those lanes were. The fact that that battle went side by side for at least 10 laps. And we saw a lot of that all throughout the field on Tuesday night.
Yeah, both lines were pretty equal, so there was a lot of that going on. By lap 32, green flag stops were starting. Pitting at lap 30, it looked like some will be on a 3-pit stop strategy tonight. So the early ones that were on a 3-stop kind of start coming in. Logan Clampett was among the first. Others followed suit. Zach Novak, though, was not happy with Graham Bolin, who took him 3 wide into turn 3 and squeezed him up into Steven Wilson off the corner. It was a close one.
Yeah, there was a surprising bit of chatter per se, and there was a couple of incidents like that where we ended up with a bit of 3 wide, and fortunately in that situation we got away with it. But talking about the pit strategy, really surprised that Logan came in that early. We were expecting it to be pretty much just a 2-stop race, maybe some drivers going for the 3, and when Logan came down early, some other drivers followed him. But it was funny because those who waited to like 40, 45 laps in still could have been on a 2-stopper. And in fact, I think once we got to the middle portion of the race, a yellow kind of changed things. Whenever that first yellow came out would have been after when we would have expected Logan to pit for his second of the 3, but he didn't. So I don't really know in hindsight if he was committed to a 2 or a 3-stopper, but I think the race length kind of left that strategy wide open. And Logan, already a driver with a win this year. So that was their justification for it, was we've got to win, so why not try something different? And he ended up pulling some drivers down pit road after he did, which I think he was pretty surprised by. He thought he'd be a little bit more on his own.
Yeah, so the stops continue around lap 47. They cycle back to Witt staying out, and then it was Shearburn, then Luza, Mitchell. Lap 63, Graham Bolin gets tagged, has a big save, but stays green. And then some of the guys on the 3-pit strategy, there's a lot on the 2, and then we had the Blade Witt on his single stop strategy, and he did make it past halfway.
Yeah, about 1 or 2 laps past the halfway point, and that meant that he would have been good to the end, right? And I don't think it would have won him the race, because this is a point I mentioned, right? There was 2 questions. 1, could he make it on fuel? He could. Second, was it a race-winning strategy? I don't think it would have got him the win if the race had stayed green, but keep in mind he started 40th, right? So literally anything other than finishing dead last would have been a win for him, and why not, right? Go off strategy. When you're in that position, that wasn't a P40, by the way, because they didn't queue, right? They didn't get the wall and have their queue time disallowed. That was on speed, was that P40. So when you're in that position, I think that's kind of the optimum candidate for making a strategy call like that is they just didn't have it tonight, and why not roll the dice a little bit? He was the only driver to be able to make it all the way to that halfway point and mix it up.
If I'm not mistaken, Blade Witt was dead last early in this race, like P40, I think. And so why not gamble, Yeah,
and the yellows that came later in the race, I would argue helped him. At the time, I didn't think it was the greatest timing, but he would go on to finish 13th in this race from dead last on the grid. So I think they deserve a lot of credit for going off paper per se and going for that strategy call.
Okay, and so Shearburn cycles to the lead after Blade Witt stops. Looking good with track position. Ryan loses right there, though. And then 57 to go. Caution. Strategies out the window. John Gorlinsky tried to split the Stuart Haas Esports duo of Graham Bolin and Dylan Duval, but ended up catching the 41's nose. And then Gorlinsky spins down quickly and collects Bob Bryant out of nowhere, and he had nowhere to go.
Yeah, it was a tough pill to swallow for Bob because he had nowhere to go, and you're right. He tried to sneak through an SHR sandwich and wasn't able to do so. And that's what I had alluded to when you mentioned the 3 wide a little bit earlier in the race, right? Sometimes we got away with it. In this instance, we didn't. Maybe a half a foot difference, and he's clear and he makes his way through. But instead, it's just a bit of contact, and it's really that spin back down the hill, getting Bryant that tags everybody. And that did basically reset all of our strategy because, to that point, we were clean and green past the halfway point. We had the Blade Witt story in the one stopper. We had the question about Clampett and some of the other cars who pitted, in the mid-30s early in the race. Were they going to go for 3? Were they going to go for 2? And at that point, there was nobody who had just gotten off pit road. So it was a clean slate because everybody was coming in for fuel and tires. And at that point, everybody inside of the number to go to the end of the race. So it was really a total reset on strategy.
Yeah, and everyone pits, and so Clampett's up close to the front. They restart, and it's the big one. And I'm thinking, is this Talladega? I mean, there were cars everywhere. It was just amazing. But Clampett goes low on Mitchell DeYoung, 3 wide, and drives it in there. Now, it's one of those deals where Mitchell's on the bottom. There's a car on his outside, and then he gets really low. And yeah, there was a lane there, that he could kind of shove it in. But it was like Mitchell just wasn't, he didn't hear it. He didn't understand he was down there, or he didn't care. And he just drove his regular line. And of course, Logan got into him, and it was on after that. Everybody wrecked.
Yeah, I think it's one of those racing things, right, where Logan saw the gap and there was a car's length of room, but typically you don't, drive down the white line on the back straightaway and make the corner, because that's not how the corners work. You got to kind of arc it in from the top, and that's one of the situations where, is there room? Yes. I get it's late in the race, probably not the move to make, but on the other hand, Mitchell DeYoung could have given him that spot, and instead he squeezed him, and it wasn't like Mitchell put a little bit of a pinch. I mean, Mitchell drove down to the point where if Clampett wanted to stay off of him, he would have had the left side tires on the apron and split it anyway. So that's a game of chicken where there's no winners, and unfortunately it's everybody else behind, as you mentioned, the big one. That get involved in that one, and I wouldn't be shocked if we have, if our biggest wreck at Talladega or Daytona later this year is smaller than that, because that was it's pretty nasty for an intermediate race.
We heard you mention there were quite a few chat mutes that got put out right after that incident as well.
Yeah, and I sometimes wish we could take the driver audio from the sim, live, but we don't have a 5-second delay for the censor button. But there was, I think, at least 2 or 3 different drivers who had their chats muted either immediately after that incident or, 5-10 minutes later, because a lot of people were heated and would not let things go. It got pretty hot.
Well, and I don't blame him. I mean, the move by Logan was optimistic, to be conservative. I mean, like you said, he's got to make the corner, and there was no way. I mean, even if Mitchell just completely backs out of it, maybe he makes the corner. But yeah, this is a restart. We're under 50 to go. It was just a hard thing, and I understand the heat of the moment, but I imagine the radios were heated.
Yeah, and I only caught snippets. I try my best to listen in when Tim's talking, and we got producer in our ear and everybody else. But I couldn't pinpoint who was mad. I think it was just general anger, because as I mentioned, when you talked about that near 3 wide and a bit of drivers early in the race, the one that didn't lead to the yellow, people get mad, even though at that point that was only the second caution of the race. There was a fair amount of people that were a little bit hot, and that's just a product, I guess, of when you're going to be so close to each other as this package produces, that when you're going to be around people, you're going to get mad at people. And I don't think it was anything beyond what we've seen this year, but it's just one of those things that happens.
Yep, and then the restart, 47 to go. It was Gann, Sebring, Clampett, 3 wide for the lead. Great racing there. By lap 42, Gann finally clears Sebring from the inside, and it was fun to watch those 5 laps as they were side by side and just digging, and he just can't get clear to slide up in front of him, but eventually he gets it done, and you could see the jubilation on Isaac Gann. I mean, he was fist pumping, and that was exciting.
Oh, absolutely. And the only thing I wish was that we had a live feed, or I guess I should say that I wish that Gann's dorm mates had a live feed of the race, right? Like a production feed, because they were getting pretty hyped every time he made a move, and their reaction was delayed just because they were watching the YouTube stream, right? So they were 45 seconds behind or whatever. It would have been cool to see those guys go nuts right when Isaac made the pass, right, and gave us a bit of a fist pump. But it was a gutsy move by Isaac, right? I mean, he was barely clear, pulled it up, parked it, and threw a nice block. And at that point, you know, with how difficult it was for him to try to execute a pass early in this race, in Chris's case, right, when Chris was trying to make the move early and couldn't do it, I thought when Isaac got through that was it, right? And he was going to use the track position and run away with it. And turns out the battling wasn't done, though.
Yeah, rookie of the year move. We'll see. I mean, he's running really good as a rookie.
He's been awesome. There's been a lot of great showings, and we talk about race winners, and it was just a week ago, didn't get to talk about it, but how about Vicente Salas getting his first win in only X amount of starts, and being the first driver to lead every single lap in an oval race. Bobby Zelensky's done it in a road race a couple of times, but every single lap in an oval race for the first time, and I hand checked every single race result to double check that stat. But the rookies are coming to play, and I think Isaac and Vicente and a lot of these guys have a bright future.
So Isaac pretty much burned up his tires and gave it everything he got getting to the lead there. But and then 3 laps later, Chris Sherburne gets back by him, and that ended up being the winning move of the race at that moment. But as laps were winding down, 15 on the board, Chris Sherburne was cruising about 2 seconds over Keegan Leahy, who got around Gann as well. And then 14 to go. Luza actually blows up after being in that big one, but it stays green. And then, boom, 7 different winners. Chris Sherburne gets it done in his second career win here at Kansas.
7 winners, 7 different teams. And if you want a bit of a funny stat, since we've had a bunch of different race winners this year, right, through 7, and with Chris winning the season finale last year, Chris Sherburne has more race wins than anybody else in our last 8. Of course, you can come up with any fun stat when you nitpick them a little bit, but I just think it's funny that Chris Sherburne's won 2 races, the only driver to win 2 races out of the last 8. If you look back, 9, Conti won the second last race last year. He won Daytona, but I think Chris Sherburne has made a huge statement, and I want to focus on that and the fact that when we talk about the points in this series, what Letarte Esports has been able to do by not only sticking with Chris, right? We have seen so much movement out of these teams over the last 2 years. Steve Letarte has stuck with Chris since day one. So that's cool. Plus picking up Bobby Zelensky, who could be due for a race win in our next, time out. When we go to COTA in 3 weeks' time, I think Letarte Esports is in a great spot to be right there alongside the teams we expect to be there, right? The William Byron Esports, the Klickerman Sports, and all that. Letarte Esports third in the team points is pretty cool and awesome to see Chris get win number 2.
Yep, nice win. Keegan second, Gann third, great run for him. Clamp at 4th. I mean, it ended up paying off for him, that crazy move, because he got the top 5 out of it. Bolin 5th. Michael Guest is the shout out. Man, he's top 10 in them to death, and I think he's 3rd in points. Conti, Reynolds, Duval, and Nathan Lyon round out the top 10.
Yeah, Guest remains as the highest driver without a race win, and to that team aspect that I mentioned, Letarte Esports I think this is the best season they've had. Similarly so, I think that this is some of the best stuff we've seen at a Jim Beaver Esports, right? Still looking to see a little bit more at a Kane Cook, who coincidentally enough had a really good showing. This past time out at Kansas, and I think that's some good stuff for that crew. But Kane ended up dropping back a little bit, finished 23rd, but was in the teens at a few points. So I think that Jim Beaver Esports has a lot to hang their heads high about, and Michael Guest, somebody who may be on track for a career year. But I would be, in a normal year, highest driver without points, I think you're fine. right? I think that we expect most of the time there's going to be 2 or 3 spots on points in the playoffs. But we're already at 7 winners.
Right.
Fortunately, Michael, there's 10 playoff spots this year instead of 8, right? Could you imagine if this is last year and we have 7 of our 8 playoff spots full in 7 weeks, right? So those extra 2 could be far more critical than we thought they were going to be at the start of the year. So normally, Michael guessed, nothing to worry about, right? You're much money that we were going to have at least one non-race winner in. But he might have to come around and get the job done here. I wonder how much they're going to start sweating now that, we're halfway through the regular season, and it appears like it's going to take at minimum 1 race win just to be playoff eligible. I think I'm at the point where I'm pretty convinced we're going to see 10 different race winners. You got the road course up, in 1 week's time. Chances are that's a Bobby Zalenski win. There's other things can happen, but that's pretty close. And maybe Bobby claims one, if not both of the others at Road America and Watkins Glen. So that's going to take care of, I think, our repeat winner factor. But I think we might get right that number 10 mark. And if you get to 11, then it's going to be wins, then points for the seeding. And you may need 2 wins, when we get to that point, to be guaranteed a spot in, which we've known is a possibility with this format. But, this year is the first time since 2010, the inaugural year of this series, where we've had 7 different race winners in the first 7 races. And wouldn't be shocked at all if we set an all-time record by seeing our 8th different one in 2 weeks.
All right. Looking forward. Everybody was talking about let's get to work, especially Bobby and Keegan. They're going to be putting in some hours getting ready for this road race. And I think the wild card is Mitchell DeYoung, and that's going to be what to watch, right?
It is. And it's basically Bobby Zalenski versus all, right? Is that streak going to be snapped? I mean, you look back through our last couple of, just last year alone, right? Bobby Zalenski, race winner at the Roval, race winner at Daytona, and it is 3 of the next 6. So that, we talk about the whole win and you're in. Michael Guest may be a big Bobby Zalenski fan. Because even though Bobby winning COTA means that's 1 less spot left, right? Then it goes from 3 points open right now in points to 2. There's a legitimate chance that Bobby Zalenski wins 3 of the next 6 races, which lowers the chance that we get beyond that magic number of 10. But right. It's a new track. I haven't personally driven the Cup car on COTA that much. I know I did it when they announced that they were going there just to see, and it very different than the Watkins Glens and the Sonomas and whatnot that we're used to. So if there's a race at which Bobby is at I don't want to say a disadvantage, but the least of an advantage, it would be this one, because he's learning from scratch, right? You talk about Mitchell DeYoung, of course, the Porsche Esports Super Cup driver who's got a ton of road experience. These Cup cars do not handle like a Porsche, though, and I think he's going to learn that pretty quick, right? I'm curious how much that can translate over. And then, there's other guys that are good at road racing, Keegan Leahy, Michael Conti. So if it comes down to a split strategy, because we don't have yellows in these, so it's going to come down to you can pretty much map out your strategy to a T. There's always a chance that somebody else can get the job done. But I always love when we go somewhere first, right? Because our race for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series is a couple of days before the actual race weekend at COTA. So the first NASCAR sanctioned race at COTA is going to happen on iRacing. So I feel like we might get some extra eyeballs on that as a preview of what's going to come up for the race weekend following. So I think it's going to be a fun time.
Okay, and that's 3 weeks out, right?
Yeah, we got to wait a little bit longer. So instead of 1 week in between, I think we got 2, because it's going to be on May the 18th. And then to make up for that, we'll have 2 races back to back. COTA on the 18th, and then our longest of the year at Charlotte the week following on the 25th. So you got to wait till later in May to get it, but we'll have a double dose of action starting with COTA.
All right, Evan Pasoko, thanks for coming on. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me.
Got a real quick question for Evan, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
Evan, in your professional opinion, which driver did the best impersonation of Evan Pizzuto in the pre-race.
I only got to see a clip of it, so I need to go back. Some of them were pretty bad. Some of them get into side by side, and they were pretty good. So I was actually thinking of clipping that and putting a ranking or something on Twitter. So I'll use this as a plug to follow me on Twitter, and I think I'll go and I'll clip that, and I'll do a power rankings of who does the best and worst impression of me. But I thought that was pretty funny.
That was funny. It was really good.
I missed it.
It was in pre-race. You got to go back. They didn't give me a heads up, because at that point we're hanging out waiting and we're watching the pre-race just so we know what they're talking about. Because there's always a chance that if they're a little bit under time, me and Tim need to jump on at the end to talk and say a little bit. And all I know is I heard in my ear, listen in real quick, and I saw the segment, so I thought that was pretty fun. So it was cool. I need to go back and I will do a power rankings of the best to worst me impressions, and we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. That was a fun spot.
Okay, so who would have thought road course racing in Texas? Hey, we'll see you there, Evan.
Sounds good, guys. We'll talk soon.
Thanks.
We're going to hit the ground running without caution, talking about cautions and the topics. You heard me say this last week, and I'm not the only one who feels this way. We have several topics that are popping up all over the place in the forums right now. Cautions are broke. That's the headline on this topic. After a week at Talladega, there was a lot of new evidence that they are. Sideslick 1024, he posted a couple of videos on his YouTube channel, as well as team member Tyler Williamson also posting some clips of the cautionless wrecks. And we don't have to play by play every one of them. They're just places where there's carnage all over the track, and the yellow doesn't come out.
So this guy, Bat Hollenbach, put these up in the forum. He put up 4 or 5 videos in a row of examples, and they are good examples. And when you initially look at them, you're like, yeah, man, that's a big wreck. I can't believe the caution didn't come out. But if you look at them a little bit closer, I do want to point out that the wreck kind of happens, and then they clear to the bottom, and they're not actually on the racing surface. And so maybe that's what it is. So maybe it just needs to be tweaked. So if a car is sideways on the racing surface, maybe it comes out. I don't know.
I don't know what you're
I
watching.
have replays. Yeah, I have replays with the cars sitting on the track at 0 and the caution not coming out.
Mike, I don't know what you're watching. That first one has Indycar's debris all over the place in that first video. Like, it's tough. Like, just having the first couple wrecks in that should have already brought it out. They wouldn't, if you think to real life, they're going to focus on safety. Obviously, we're in the sim. We're not worried about the safety of the cars and stuff like that. But that first one that I was showing here on the stream, there's cars everywhere. That should be an automatic.
Does iRacing have debris cautions?
No, but they have on the new damage model, debris can hurt the car.
Right, but it won't come out. It won't bring the caution out just because there's a wing sitting in the groove, right?
Yeah, but there was a cockpit of a car sitting there.
Yeah, there were cars that first track. There's cars all over the place that are 100 miles an hour under speed, like stuck up against the wall.
And that Talladega one with the trucks, that was enough to bring out a caution no matter what.
And here's what happens. The longer it stays this way, it just leads to even worse ARCA braking. Because now, when you see smoke, you don't slow down because you're probably not going to get a caution. So why slow down and give up, 7 positions?
You're basically taking out your chance, right?
Yeah, you might as well just be running with the cautions off again. That's what somebody definitely pointed out on there. Also, and it makes it very unsafe and not fun to have to be the one who does check up while everybody else doesn't, or to plow into a car that's sideways on the track and then still not have a caution come out.
Well, I think we can all agree that there's some issues with the cautions. I'm more curious about why. Is this a deliberate attempt to try to limit the amount of cautions so the races aren't so bad that they've dialed back the threshold to throw one?
Didn't help at Martinsville.
It could have been worse, maybe.
No,
That's what I'm concerned about. Whether they're just, they're just trying to keep these races as caution free as possible, so people aren't disinterested with all these caution laps, and maybe they've just lowered the threshold of what brings out a caution to the point where it's almost ridiculous, and they just have to maybe do some adjustments.
Well, then they need to communicate that, because every other issue that comes up on the forums, they respond to. They've been ignoring this for a month now.
Yeah, which is kind of odd, because it doesn't make any sense why this is the one they're choosing. Obviously, there is something. If they're choosing to ignore it, there is something that's causing it, right? So either they don't know what they broke, or they're doing it deliberate.
Well, somebody noticed in the forums, and I've noticed this kind of in a different way. They're using the event counter or log to see when the wreck is noted, and there's like a delay when the event is actually showing up on the log compared to what it used to be, if there is some kind of caution. So what it seems like, even when the car is actually stopped on the track completely, the yellow still takes a few seconds to actually trigger. So it's almost like they've intentionally built in a delay to see if the car is going to get going or not.
Or they'll escape out. Yeah, well, more to come on that.
So Road to Pro had a couple crazy things happen here. So I guess Brian Blackford tweeted out the after the Road to Pro Truck Series race, or halfway through one, looking at one of the images here is, what is that, six identical trucks in the same race, racing with each other at Talladega.
I forget which team it is, yeah, but
that's kind of crazy that they got 6 all lined up, and they're trying to get a win for their team. And then Brad White went from 17th to 1st in his Road to Pro at Talladega, and it kind of was a crazy event there. They wrecked coming off of through 3 and 4, and then they just kept wrecking down the straightaway. Like I think it was the 2 good leaders took each other out, and he ended up passing him just as they get to the line, which is quite crazy.
yeah, 17th to 1st on the last lap. Yeah, pretty neat replay. I did watch this race, the Road to Pro. I think it was Thursday night at Talladega, and I tell you what, man, that package with the trucks at Talladega is what we want, and what we wanted at Talladega for us in the A car. They were 3 wide, 10 deep, total pack racing. Throw a blanket over 25 of them at a time, and it was really fun to watch. And with the paint jobs that one team was using, you could definitely tell they were working together and as a whole.
How about those member highlights, Tony?
Oh, was that me? I was just waiting for that super cool lead in. All right, another video. And I tell you, right from the start, like the first 2 clips are probably the best part of this whole video, 6-minute highlight video. But the first 2 are like, the first one is like the best wreck avoidance I think I've ever seen. How this guy got through this mess. He was weaving and bobbing through, just like the whole field was wrecking, and he wiggled his way. He didn't find just some magic line on the outside. He actually had to carve his way through that whole mess. It was extremely impressive. And the second one, this guy spins like it's a full 360. He doesn't even lose a spot. Now he's battling for position. Looks like he just got kind of goofy by another guy spinning out. There's no contact or nothing, but he spins it, stays in complete control, and doesn't even lose a position. Two very impressive things to start out that video. Those are the two major standouts, but another good video from iRacing.
Oh, yeah. It's a typical quality side-by-side or three-wide. I just love stuff like this because when they get side-by-side and they don't want to take each other out and they're being like gentlemen racers, it's so cool. This one here at the end, near the end, is 4 wide at Watkins Glen. Right at the line, too. Right at the checker line, they're 4 wide.
Yeah. That's just crazy. It's stuff. It gets to be really hard to see. So it's nice that they put out these videos to see these great racing moments.
And I have my own personal great racing moments here and there, or I see them while I'm on the track. But man, they're happening all the time, every day, and you just don't even know they're happening unless they capture them like this. So I really do appreciate these videos.
Oh yeah, they're definitely enjoyable, and obviously, like everything else, some stand out a lot better than the others, but this one grabbed me by surprise just because the first two out of the gate were just so darn impressive.
Yep.
One I noticed that was quite interesting was the last one where the 2 Indy cars getting onto pit road at Barber Motorsport Park. Like, that's one of the harder pit roads to get onto, and he makes the pass on the outside of for the lead.
Yeah. Okay, I got the next one. PESC All-Stars race. Emily Jones takes the victory in the main race of the Porsche Tag Heuer Super Cup All-Stars race Saturday, wrapping up the series championship in the process. So congratulations to Emily.
Yeah, she was leading in the points going into that race and takes the win in the main race, which actually is exactly what happened in the Tag Heuer Super Cup race. We all know that Josh Rogers wrapped up the championship last week, and he didn't take the week off. He went ahead and won the main feature race at Monza in week 10, just for fun, I guess. He's had just an outstanding, dominant season. It's one of the better seasons in probably any series that any one driver's had. As competitive as these cars are and the field is, it's a fantastic job by Josh to take that victory. Sebastian Job, he had a really rough time this past weekend at Monza. He wrecked out in both races, so I think he's probably got the most speed leading into next year to try to challenge Josh. He's just got to be a little bit more consistent, and hopefully next year he's got something for Josh, and we can see a little bit better season when it comes to the last race.
Well, remember early in the season, didn't he have a disconnect internet issue? Man, it's probably just down to that alone.
Yeah, that was actually the first week that he had that problem, and he's had a couple problems. He blew his engine at the Nürburgring and on that jump, which was very unusual. He's just had a really strange year, but he's got the speed, so I expect to see him coming back strong next year.
So we're speaking Porsche, right? How about a new one? During the broadcast of the Porsche Super Cup finale, we had iRacing reveal that they're coming out with a GT3R, which is going to be available in the Season 3 build in June. Take a look at the video. It looks like a Porsche, and I don't have a whole lot of other information. I wonder if this is going to replace the 911 Cup car that we currently have.
It's not. I read something along the lines that it's separate from that.
So that just leaves that Cup car is going to still have its own series, and this is going to be part of the GT3 class. Just so that they have a Porsche that's
I don't
there.
remember the specifics. Now, if you check the Twitch link, it comes up to the point in the stream where they have the announcement, and they played the video that we saw last week. And then at the end, they actually have the actual car is on stage, and the presenter guy gets, they show it from the outside. He gets in it. He's talking about it, so you can see the actual Porsche that they're talking about if you go to the Twitch. Pretty cool to announce content on the stream like that, though.
Yeah, we had a story, remember, a couple weeks ago where a guy predicted a new Porsche was going to come out for week 10 of the All-Star race because they didn't have an announced car. And he was off on his timing, but he nailed that the new Porsche car was coming out.
It's a beauty too, and they show the real one. Wow. Okay, next up, massive reports of stats are down. iRacing had issues on Saturday where stats were not displaying in their results. Staffer Nicholas Bailey replied in the forums on many threads. He was all over it. That they were being fixed and being updated fairly quickly. What I noticed, though, is the amount of activity of people that are concerned about it. I mean, stats are important, apparently.
Yeah, because I don't think they were down for like a super long time, and people were all over it in a hurry. And they got it back up fairly quickly from what I could tell. But, man, they jumped on it quick.
I found 8 different threads.
Well, and it started the night before, because remember Bobby was bringing it up in our chat Friday night and into Saturday, and we didn't get our results until Saturday.
The NIS results weren't showing, right?
Well, generally with stats coming out, a lot of people are interested in finding out if they bumped up in the points or down in the points in whatever series they're running.
But yeah, they got it resolved. It was just something hung up, and nothing got lost or anything like that.
Well, one stat we are definitely looking forward to packing up our, how shall we say, win stats to back up last year, our Indy 500 stats. And Tony's going to tell us a little about that.
Man, I don't show up for a couple of weeks and I totally forget how to do this whole podcasting thing. What's going on here? So we got the Indy 500 coming up. Greg West posted up the details for that, and that is going to happen May 22nd and the 23rd.
That's the open, and then the fixed is the week before that.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, there's 2 links here. I didn't have them both opened up.
Yeah, so fixed on one week and then open on the next.
Yeah, so the fixed will be the 15th and the 16th. And I wish they'd put these time slots in Eastern Standard Time so I'd understand them. But each one's got 4 time slots. The regular, you got to have a D license 4.0 for oval. 200 lap race. And yeah. Using the Dallara IR18.
The big difference with this event over others is qualifying is separate and it's a 4-lap average.
Also, if you're trying to convert GMT, once again, it's minus 4 hours.
To get to Eastern?
That's Mike's pet peeve. It's minus 4 hours.
But if you really want to transpose it to the right time, it's minus 5 for Central.
Does anybody care about Central? Like, I thought everything works on the East Coast.
Here's the easiest way to figure it out. plop it into Google, win every time.
Hey Google.
Or subtracting 4, which is kind of, like first grade math.
So who's going to run it?
I'll run the open.
Definitely me.
Yeah, I'll definitely run the open.
I gotta back up my 2 seconds.
500?
Go for a win.
I
I
think
don't
it
even
is.
think I have this car.
You don't have the Indycar?
Nope.
I guess you
Yeah,
probably
they
have the
changed
older
it
one, but not the
recently.
newer one.
Right, the one with the windscreen on it.
I've got the free one.
Yeah, so you'll be buying the car if you want to run this. I'm not really. I think I skipped last year, actually.
You'll end up running it.
I might. All right, next up.
If
What about you, Brian? You're definitely doing it, right?
I was going to just ask if the fixed setup, if you can still make in-car adjustments or not.
That was changed last
Wait,
year
check.
after this, so yes, you can.
You can.
Yeah,
But I probably-
it was a problem in the 500 last year, so they made the change.
I gotcha.
I never know what to do with that stupid thing, and yeah,
I know,
I'm afraid of it.
That's what I was thinking. I'm afraid of it. I don't know if I want to do it if it's in fixed.
Well, if you go into
generally-
if you go into a practice, you can test it out. Right, David?
Yeah,
Practice.
yeah, you can in the practice. You don't move it that much in race, except for like if you're not in traffic or in traffic. But where it gets really crazy is to optimize that qualifying time. You have to get it to where you can switch it from one extreme to the other in the corner and in the straightaway.
The biggest issue is when you get to that. There's a point where when you've closed up on a car, it gets super tight, and to exit the corner, if you don't do the adjustment, you're just throttling back, and it's just killing your straight line speed. So you do the adjustment and you go further if you've got multiple cars in front of you. But if it's one car, it's minor adjustments.
Next up, we got a poll put out by iRacing, actually, on the Twitter. This asking, hey, do you like fixed or open? And they got quite a few votes, 5,868. And it's 71% on fixed and 28% on open. This was a little more skewed than I thought it'd be. I thought it'd be a little more equal.
Well, they're talking just in general in iRacing, right? Like
Just in general,
you would,
yeah.
if you look on the oval side, isn't the fixed series more popular than the oval or the open?
It is.
So
Double.
I would guess any of the roads that have fixed would be more popular too, just because you can just hop in and drive a road set. But I don't find some of the fixed stuff. I just don't find it fun anymore. But that's just my take to it.
Well, these numbers, back up, NIS fixed versus NIS open numbers. I mean, it's pretty much double. Interesting, though.
Well, one place I guess some people might want a fixed setup or an open setup. I don't know. But definitely a lot of practice time because it's going to be a brand new track. NASCAR actually is considering going to Chicago. And I think we already kind of knew this, and they were going to be going ahead and using iRacing as a way to test the waters. And that's exactly what this post confirms, is that iRacing is serving as the dry run for the possible eventual real-life version. The Pro Invitational has a race in June 2nd with a track that's to be determined, and they're expecting that's going to be Chicago.
Yep. So that's why it was TBD on the whole time. The plan is Chicago.
That'll be an awesome event to watch for it, because do we get it in the sim just before that, or is this where the first taste is and then they release it afterwards?
So I'm just thinking, who of the Cup drivers is a good road course racer in the sim? Right?
Timmy Hill.
Timmy Hill, right?
If he's allowed.
He'll be allowed. They fixed that.
I'm kind of worried about.
Actually, they could bring Elmendinger in for this one.
Yeah, but like Mike's saying, is sometimes the real life doesn't translate into the sim for the road part of it. Because Chase Elliott wouldn't be. Chase Elliott's really good on road. Will he come into the sim and dominate? Not like he does on road.
This track kind of worries me for the Pro Invitational because these street courses, there's not like runoff areas too much. People are going to be hitting walls and bouncing all over the place, blocking tracks.
Blocking tracks.
Yeah, that kind of worries me a little bit, especially for the guys who don't take it as serious as others.
Now here's a fast.
It goes bad though, Brian. Like, what if it does go bad? It looks like a circus. Then maybe NASCAR doesn't get their Chicago race because they're like, we don't want that.
Well, my question is are they running this like an actual road race in iRacing where they don't put cautions on, or are they going to run it with cautions?
I'm sure Tyler would throw a caution if he needed to.
That's a good point, Mike. I wonder if they might get the word, say, hey, this is like really important this time. So can you try to take this a little bit more serious than the rest of the weeks? So, guys, if you remember, last week was the 24 hours of Nürburgring, and Team BMW Team Redline is officially what they're called. The trio of Max Benecke, Chris Lilham, and Max Verstappen took the win in the top split. So they would be the 24 hours champs of Nürburgring, and that's a tough race. It's probably one of the most grueling endurance races on this calendar, and they dominated. They led 158 of 174 laps. So a really, really good performance from those guys. I'm not sure about Chris Lilham, but I know the other two guys are definitely Porsche Super Cup drivers.
I mean, I don't know who he is either, but can you imagine being teammates with Verstappen? And, handing the car over to him and not wrecking it, and yeah.
Well, especially with how Verstappen's he's elevated himself in his career right now in F1 is starting to skyrocket, and he's doing this in his spare time on his off week because obviously it was an off weekend last week, and luckily for him to be able to race it too, right?
It's so awesome, I think, that these Formula One stars are doing these events. It just brings a whole legitimacy to it. So, Tony, what's better than rain?
Well, I don't know about this one. But apparently Jacob Pinkstaff thinks it would be cool to add a riverboat racing to the service. Maybe that's better than rain. I don't know.
So these now I don't know if this is the same thing I'm thinking about, but out here in Phoenix at Firebird, racetrack, they have a small lake where it's not a river, it's a lake. And they have these jet boats that do drag racing side by side, sometimes 3 or 4 wide, side by side drag racing. And it's a blast. It's a huge fun to watch, and I think it'd be fun. It's still a form of racing. I don't know.
Actually, Mike, I think these ones are the ones they have set like they're like buoys or whatever, they're out in the water, and they do like sometimes a circle track or a road course, and they just got to go around them and complete. They don't go for very long because I don't think their motors would overheat for the amount of time. I don't think they're really long races, but I could be wrong on that. But it'd be interesting. I just don't think it's an iRacing sim addition that we need, but to each his our own, I guess, right?
I wasn't trying to discount sport of, boat racing. Those guys in there are crazy yes.
Oh yeah.
They're you got to be freaking mental to do it. So like huge respect to the sport. I was just like, in iRacing, no. I mean, how would the tire model even work?
We have a water model or a lake model or a river model now.
Whatever it is, Tony, I'm sure someone will complain about it too, not working properly.
I was trying to get the first complaint in already before anybody got on it.
Well, at some point they're gonna have all the content created, right? And they're gonna have to come up with something new. 10 years from now or whatever.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe 15.
Okay, this next one was kind of cool. Life imitating art. And so many people on social media cropped up pictures from the Pro Invitational race at Talladega and then the real race at Talladega of Joey Logano in his 22 orange NASCAR getting airborne. And then Brad Keselowski winning in his green and white car, doing donuts. And it's pretty cool when you put the pictures side by side. You almost can't tell which one's real and which one's not. I mean, they look so much alike.
This too, and Denny Hamlin's car's in the background of both of the ones for Logano as well. Like there's just just one's wrecking, one's driving away.
Right. And so I showed this to my wife and my stepdaughter, and just to see what they would think, and they looked at it and kind of looked at me like I'm crazy, but yeah, I don't know. I guess you have to be a sim racer for it to be cool. We have several examples in the script we found on Instagram, and Fox put out one. I think even Ryan Ellis, one of the drivers, he put out one. He said, "We live in a simulation."
Pretty sure Joey was probably felt a lot better wrecking in iRacing than he did on Sunday in the real car.
Let's talk about who else is going to complain, Greg.
All right, this one's going to get me warmed up here for a bit, because this... I guess this happened on the actual broadcast for the Nürburgring ring. So Chris, is it Schutt, I guess, posted up that they were having a discussion about the game engine of iRacing. It kind of still looks the same as 2008. There's a lot of complaints about certain aspects of iRacing with like night cycles and their GT cars and stuff like that. And I'm hoping our friend of the show and teammate Mike Morley is listening to this one too, because he's gonna like me talking about Assetto Corsa here too as well. But I'm kind of torn and tired of hearing the comparison of iRacing to Assetto Corsa. Assetto Corsa is good in its own way. It's its own sim, but it does one discipline. iRacing has I don't know how many disciplines do they have. There's 20 or 30 different disciplines, series wise or more, and this whole sim is built on everything working as itself. If you want to be able to focus on one thing, okay, Assetto Corsa focuses on GT cars and there's certain aspect, and they can make everything great because that's all they're worried about making on it. Whereas iRacing has us oval guys to accommodate for the road side, all the different road disciplines, the dirt side, the dirt rally, the dirt trucks. You know, there's so many different disciplines that you can't just focus. You could build. If iRacing wanted to change their engine from 2008, the amount of time it would take and resources, we wouldn't be able to afford the sim coming back from it. I don't believe it would be expensive to change it over. Assetto Corsa was only built in the last, I think it was the last 3 years. I think it's less than 3 years old. I'm sorry, David.
Sorry. How much of the 2008 engine is still really there?
Well, it's not. It's not. A lot of it isn't. It's there. It's people are set. It's no different than, you got one game or something that's got updated graphics. It's like year to year. If you want your Call of Duty, it's got updated graphics and it looks nicer. Well, Assetto Corsa's 8 years further into the future of the technology of the system. They've made their upgrades. It's great. It's its own sim. You can't. I see these more and more pop up all the time, and I took it okay. I take Chris Schutz for his word, or like he's at least he has some time in the sim. He's got 8 years in here, so at least he's seen it all. But a lot of this keeps popping up with all these other sims. It's like you can't compare them. You find something you like or you don't like. But someone in this post also makes a thing about that. There's a reason it's been around for so long. If it was so outdated, why would people keep coming?
Devil's advocate, you can compare them, and we had a driver I know that recently came over from ACC and switched over to iRacing, and even in the road racing lobbies, the sports car racing lobbies, the iRacing community and racing is just better. Whether the sim that ACC has better graphics or not, it's not. The lobbies are not policed in the same way. They don't really have a protest system, right? The only way you really have any communities over there is to run league races. There's no sense of an official racing. So in that sense, that's one of the things that iRacing just has hands down over any of the other software packages, is how quality the pickup racing can be.
I like this quote from Dexter Castro in the thread. He says, iRacing won't have any true competition until another billionaire allows a studio to lose money for most of a decade to do things right.
It's not wrong. I mean,
that's a good point.
You have to have investors, and if you don't have deep pockets to do something like this, and over time, iRacing's built that infrastructure, and they got in a lot earlier when it was a lot cheaper too, right? It would have been a lot less expensive back in 2007, 2008 when they started doing this than what it is now in 2021.
But they just need, I guess ACC just needs to get Elon Musk to back them.
Pretty much. But then you wouldn't be able to hear any of the cars. They'd be all electric.
Okay, we're going to keep moving. I love this next one.
It's a real pain in the neck, right?
Oh.
Man, I didn't even see this one here until it just looked me right in the eyes.
Apparently the guy in the car didn't see it either.
Yeah, so we got here Michael Cosley Jr. tweeting a photo of an iRacing driver who is unfortunate enough to have the hood ornament, or the hood of an opponent's car, go through his neck after a track incident. And it looked like it took off half his helmet and everything. Like, you look at this poor guy behind the wheel, his eyes and just his facial expression looks at you like he is having the worst day ever. And I mean, that is quite apparent from the pictures that we're seeing. In the side-by-side shot, you've got the outer view of a Reese's peanut butter cup hood stuffed in the driver's side window.
It looks like the hood not only got through the window net into the seat area and cut right clean through his neck, but also the A post, the behind the seat, and the back side window as well, and it's sticking in there too, like a good foot or two. Yeah, nice clean cut.
I gotta say they're gonna lose a bunch of owner points here, and their crew chiefs are gonna get kicked out for at least a couple races because they took some they did something to the structure of the car sucks.
Good tethers.
Thank you.
Well, that's that would be the ARCA car, right? I'm guessing that's the ARCA car that's shown there.
I think so, because it's by the new damage model, I'm thinking.
Well, someone's not going to be eating those Reese's peanut butter cups, I can tell you that.
You know what though? Like, just take a look again, like on the left side. Like, look at this guy's facial expression. It is, it's priceless. Like, it just works so well as he's got the hood, going through his neck.
I guess the Newman bar didn't save him.
All right, guys. So there was an article in the Richmond Times-Dispatch, and it tells the story that Richmond Raceway and Virginia State University will form a partnership to operate the track's eSport team in a first-of-its-kind arrangement. So NASCAR will hire a VSU student intern to manage the simulated racing program, and other VSU students will work on its marketing, graphics design, even coordination and team operations. So that's a pretty cool story. So they're basically taking the college student interns and giving them a chance to go through the ups and downs of running a NASCAR race team, but in virtual reality. So, so it's a interesting way for them to get some training and some experience for these college students for who might want to advance in the field of this type of management program.
Cheap labor.
Yeah, real cheap.
No, it's pretty cool though that they could design a student program around e-racing, and Richmond Raceway has been instrumental in getting involved in the Coke Series and the draft when that came into play, and they're one of the original teams.
Yeah, so I guess they'll be working with Mullins and Novak, who are the Richmond Raceway drivers. I imagine they'll be working with those guys as far as marketing their cars and their programs.
Very cool. How about the ladies of iRacing, David Hall?
This one's kind of interesting, and what might have been interesting for Tony to talk about because they have the ladies league, but there are a couple of interesting things on this. Motor Racing Outreach is partnering with iRacing and Fox Sports to bring the Better Half Dash. It's going to be a virtual race broadcasted on June 10th on a special edition of Race Hub on FS1. And it's going to have the wives of NASCAR's biggest names competing at Texas.
Nice.
They did this last year too, didn't they? Or no, they did it for the IndyCar guys.
Yeah, I noticed that it mentioned biggest names because I was going to say, well, what about, I don't know, is Jennifer Jo Cobb married? And, what about Derek Lemke? So why not, what about, this is almost a little sexist nowadays, isn't it?
Okay, so I found an entry list. So Kelly Earnhardt Miller, Kristen Libani, Morgan Bell, the wife of Christopher Bell, Marissa Briscoe, wife of Chase, Megan Smith, wife of Regan Smith, Jenna Petty, who's the girlfriend of Harrison Burton, Tammy Rice, who's the wife of Colleague Racing's Chris Rice, Julia Piquet, who's the girlfriend of Daniel Suarez, Jennifer Self, wife of Austin Wayne Self, Carissa Flores, who's the wife of Ryan Flores, who's a front tire changer of the 2 car, and Alexa DeLeon, who's the girlfriend of Tyler Reddick.
Did you mention Kelly Earnhardt there? Kelly Earnhardt Elledge?
Yep, I said that at the beginning.
Okay, I was
Miller.
Distracted. Oh, is it Miller? It's not Elledge. Oops.
It's the top one there.
Yeah, this is sorry, Brian. This is nothing but absolute awesomeness. But Greg, you're right. Last year, it was either F1 or Indy. It was open wheel, anyways. Now to have the NASCAR version of this
F3 car or something like that, wasn't it? I think they did.
I don't know. Open wheel. It was an open wheel.
They should have all the guys spotting for them too. That would and have the live audio.
Okay, but they
No,
need to
no,
do that
should
for.
have the guys.
They should have the wives do it in the other way. The other way, when the other guys are racing.
No, keep the guys right out of it. Let the girls let the girls go and bang doors. This is gonna be good. You know, even if it is just a complete shit show. This is a really good thing. It's good. It's good for NASCAR. It's good for iRacing. I can tell you just from doing the ladies' night out racing, the amount of attention that they've been getting from guys trying to get their girlfriends and wives into iRacing. This just opens up that whole thing, and it just I talk about it on the aftermath where it's like, guys, get your wives into this, bring them into your hobby, because it makes it really easy to buy new stuff.
So we're missing some names here, though. Where's Whitney Dillon? Where's Samantha Bush? Where is Delana Harvick? Where's Delana? She'd wipe the floor with these people.
Her hands full with taking their son to the go-karts and all that stuff, and it looks like the daughter's starting to get going on it.
Or Brittany Logano or Paige Keselowski. Let's see some of those people.
Well, if this thing goes well, I imagine word will get out like, hey, we had a great time. This is a lot of fun, a lot of good stuff happening on track, and if they get a good enough viewership and support for this kind of thing, they'll likely do it again and involve make the field bigger, involve more.
No, it's at Texas. Does Texas have a Legends track inside it, or are they using the full track?
They'll probably run the big track because they'll probably run the big track though, because generally on the sim side that's a little bit easier than running that little Legends track.
I would think it's a big one, yeah.
Okay.
A lot of track for that.
So the next topic I'll pick up, we actually didn't have somebody lined up on it. I'll take it over. There's a series asking how to help drive, or there's a post or several series of posts asking how to help drive the participation in the Pro Truck series, and there were several ideas that were introduced, including fixed setups, a rookie class, and a better ladder progression.
Yeah, it's a pretty neat discussion. Hey, they know there's an issue. They're working on it. Let's talk through some ideas, basically.
Do you think some of this has to do with just the fact that there's no notoriety, of these series? They're not very popular to be broadcast on TV, and you gotta go looking to watch one of these events or something like that. Whereas NASCAR and Indycar and all those other kind of series are kind of forced down your throat in normal real life. These things are just a little bit they're just not as mainstream, right?
So here's some of the changes. So Tyler's saying, we decided to step back and regroup with a completely fresh new look at the entire dirt road license genre as a whole. We put together a plan that would give people a way to reach A class by choosing a career path of trucks or rally cars. The user can still interchange the two, but the goal is if you want to race rally, you can do so without needing to race the trucks and vice versa. So the path to the A license has always kind of been in limbo. Well, he says here, we're ironing out the details and hope to have more information very soon. We understand this might be a big change and people need plenty of advance notice. In the end, we have all the same goal for dirt road racing to thrive on iRacing.
I think Greg hit it on the money, though, that it's just not as popular of a sport or part of auto racing. It's kind of like, I guess, comparing Madden 2021 to, I don't know, Badminton 2021.
Okay, and a couple quick hits next. Jimmy Mullis put up a Twitter today of his trophy for winning the Carnomoli 500. Landon should be proud of me for saying that right. The trophy is pretty cool. It's made out of wood, and it's got an oval made out of wood, kind of a version of an oval track, and inside of it, an actual die cast of Jimmy's Sunoco cup car, sitting kind of on a checkered flag pedestal inside the racetrack oval, with the big old brass nameplate across the front, traditional. It looks really nice.
Are we going to get hammered for that pronouncing Sunoco or Sunoco?
I was worried about Carnomoli.
Well, I'm just worried about all the guys that listen to the aftermath in our podcast.
The other quick hit is I saw up on my Facebook today, 6-year anniversary of the iRacers Lounge podcast is today. So it's been 6 years. I just wanted to throw that out there. Here's to 6 more. I appreciate everybody who's on the show, who's been on the show, who's hosted this show. It's a group effort, and I'm just a part of it. So happy to be a part of it.
Where's Rochette's sound effects when you need them?
Exactly, the whistles and whatnot. Yeah.
Well, we can fix that in post, right?
David's got to have a huge fireworks display going off.
I was thinking
Maybe
Old
you
Lang
guys-
Syne.
And maybe you guys would know, is there any other iRacing podcast that's been on as long as that?
We're the only podcast, aren't we? There's no other podcasts that ever do this, right?
All those other ones, they come and go. They just disappear. They can't hack it. That's the thing. Okay, housekeeping notes. Don't forget Aftermath. Tony, give us a quick preview.
Well, we had Steve Thompson, league owner of the Old Bastards Racing League, on last Saturday. Yeah, we had a lot of fun. That guy's he's a great conversation, full of life, and throwing out lots of digs at us. So we had a good time chatting with him, getting some history on the OBRL league. Kind of where they, how they started, as much as he was able to know, because he's not an original member. But yeah, very interesting to hear about all that. So we did that last Saturday, and yeah, so I guess we're off this weekend. So party
on. All right, Midwest Simulations offered those spotlights. You can get 10% off by using the coupon code iRacers Lounge, and we're still over at the Performance Motorsports Network Fantasy.
Well, I talked a bunch about this on the Aftermath, and I don't even know what the heck I'm doing this year. 3/4 of the way in the race, I'm looking good, and this is almost every race. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm rocking out, and then 30 laps to go, or whatever the case is. It's a handful of laps to go, and my whole lineup just goes right out the frickin' window. But other guys, you know what? They're doing quite well. Just in time, he's sitting up in first place right now, and I was battling him late last year for the lead. So he's got something figured out, or he's burning up all the guys right now, which I'm very much okay with for my personal gain. But we got there. Kind of hard to read some of these. Something boy, I don't even know that one. He's sitting in second place. We got
Scotty
Red Dog.
boy.
Is that what it is, Scotty Boy? It's just a big blur on my screen. Res Dog, he's in third place. Oh, Baby is in fourth. And is that Conklin Speedworks in fifth? Oh, we got a tie for fifth with him and Trick Dickel. And it certainly is. But Greg, you're in ninth place. You snuck your way into the top 10. Nice job. Yeah, and you're burning up all your top guys too, right? Well, yeah, so I was debating whether to put McDowell in last week, and I decided not to. I just didn't think lightning could strike twice, and it did. Yeah, he got himself a top 5 anyhow. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm still waiting for those trends to figure themselves out, and it's really hard this year. It's been extremely tough.
Hardware, software, we have a Kickstarter.
So, you guys remember that egg motion platform?
Yeah, that was pretty nifty.
Yeah, pretty wild, right? Like it's it was a really low cost to entry. It seemed to move around quite well. It looked funny. It still does look kind of funny and goofy, but the price point. Well, these guys come out with like a 2.0 version of this thing. They ditched the egg a little bit, and they made it, I guess, a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. It looks like that they are still using some of the same, technology, just upgraded. But the price point, like these things are starting at $790 US. That's for motion, guys.
Wow.
So the thing that I haven't been able to find, is people using it and what it actually feels like, how well it actually works. But hopefully this is like a starting trend to get the motion platforms price point to get down a little bit more of the affordable range.
Well, and
there's a few frames in the video that show a guy driving a simulator in this cockpit. Like this is like literally 1 or 2 frames, so it's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, so these things are like, it's almost as if they have like one pivot point as opposed to the 4 posts that we're normally used to seeing. And I just wonder how long that would hold up as opposed to like the 4 separate posts. I don't know. I got a lot of questions. I guess I just gotta wait until these get into people's hands before we can really make better guesses as to the reliability of these things. But I do like what I'm seeing so far.
I was able to freeze frame it on that one frame and get a good view of the cockpit that he's driving in. It looks like a G27. It looks like the wheel is mounted on a one upright that comes up on the left side, but the motion is like a 1 pivot point down below the seat, like you were describing.
And how is this going to simulate elevation change and bumps or even certain yaws? I just don't think it has enough directions of motion.
Traction loss.
To feel real, yeah.
The thing is their first one obviously was more of like you had to have some upper body strength to be able to control the first one. At least this one, they've kind of made it like a seat that you're sitting in this time, where you got a backrest and everything. but I just don't. It's basically, it's almost like that's more something that's built for VR, to have with like special things like they're showing there in that one. They got the roller coaster, how to kind of enjoy it. So it's like one of those movie theater seats that you go to, like have those special things at like Disney World.
This is the VR gaming chair. It's not a sim racing chair necessarily. Yeah. I think you can sim race with it, but that's not the initial or the primary purpose.
No. I mean, you are going to obviously give up some things from, say Brian's setup to this, but you kind of have to expect that, when it's, coming in at under $1,000, right?
It reminds me of a barber's chair looking at it, the way where you sit up in it. It's got the footrests and the armrests.
Yeah. Well, it's a Kickstarter, so be careful. Now, this next one, Greg, man, I love the look of this.
Do you like the price tag, Mike? Because apparently Swiss-made manufacturing racing fuel simulators is offering, I was kind of looking on their website, so this is their Stage 1 Pro simulator. It's almost 18,000 euros. But if you go on the website, racingfuel-simulators.com, and you kind of get the details of, because they got a couple options here, because they got a Pro, Stage 3 Pro as well, which is $45,000. But if you go their Stage Pro 1 or Stage 1 Pro and you show their features, it looks like the only part of it that is motion, which is kind of, that's why I'm thinking that the price tags is as high as it is it's got traction loss modules. But they're promoting, I think they're promoting this whole thing it is as a package, right? Because you get the seat, you get the monitors, you get the computer, you get everything all in one. That's why the price tag is what it is. But I don't know too much about that traction loss control thing. Brian, is it a decent traction control system, or is it one that they've developed? Do you know about it?
I'm not aware of this system. It might be one that they've developed on their own, because I've never seen that particular system anywhere else.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in action either. So,
because it's coming with a direct drive from Leo Bodner Sim Steering 2 system, pedals, which are the Heusinkveld Ultimate pedals, a handbrake, sequential shifter, and what's the H pattern one there? It's the SS. That's the SHH one, right? That shifter. That's that nice one, isn't it? That we've covered a couple times.
I did find a video. It does move left to right like a traction loss. The backside looks like it moves, maybe even the front.
It looks like it's an interesting system. I just don't know. The price tag's always, I mean, anytime you throw any movement in the sim in, it triples the price tag of what you think it should be.
So the cockpit itself reminds me of Vasaro, where it's got the part where you put the wheelbase is on a metal piece that slots down towards your feet and around the pedals and around to the bottom. And it's got these sleek looking body parts kind of on it, like a fiberglass, to kind of give it a look of a car almost. I just like the style.
You know what those legs remind me of? David, I don't know if David can think of this, but a keyboard stand for like one of those like electric keyboards.
A quick lock X stand?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
That's what it kind of reminds me of.
Yeah, they do. I was looking ahead, but yeah, I just took a look. Yeah, they do.
Okay, I'll take this one. SimForge pedals. Barry Rowland reviewed the full-size SimForge Mark I pedals. They're priced at $333. His final thoughts were that for the price, they performed as well, if not better, than some higher price pedals and were very adjustable. Although they may lack the fidelity of some high-end pedals, they are well worth looking into for the price alone. And, I think people get caught up in the Fanatec V3s as the go-to, but, these look pretty good, too, and they're cheaper.
They're built on an 80/20 piece of aluminum there for the base, with the L brackets already there for you to mount onto any 80/20 system. And it's got a nice big heel plate. The pedals are big, really nice and big. It's a nice, for $333, that's certainly well worth looking into. That's a good price for a set of pedals looking like that.
They kind of got that erector set look to them, with lots of holes everywhere in the steel. And then, it looks really nice. I like it.
Well, the way those holes are, if they're actually open, that allows a little bit more adjustability. Say if you want to scoot that clutch out further, and you can even move the brake over a little bit if you don't want them to be so crammed in tight.
So what's interesting too is this company is from India, and I think this might be the first company we've talked about from India.
So we've got a Swiss and an Indian company on this one. New companies coming in.
Well, as sim racing continues to grow, companies from all the countries all over the world are going to jump in.
Wonder what the shipping would be from India. All right, next up, second guessing all I know is what I called this one. And Niels Heiskenveld. Yes, that is the guy who sells the pedals. He posted a video on his personal YouTube channel comparing his motion system to the motion of a real car. And David, I hope you've watched this, because for anybody who's invested into a motion system and might have second guessed, am I really buying the right one? And this video is eye-opening. And basically what Niels talks about is most people, when they buy motion, they're buying the inverse of what it should be.
I glanced at it, but I don't think I got to that point where he made that conclusion. But it was pretty interesting that I got the gist that he was talking about how you really can tell what's going on with the motion rigs.
Yeah, I've never seen a video where anybody's compared actual motion in real life compared to a rig. So I thought that was really interesting, and how that it was almost opposite, the inverse of what you would have thought, which was really, really interesting to see. I think a lot of the stuff can be corrected in software. The SRS system that I use, the Sim Racing Studio, which runs my actuators, you can adjust it to the point where, if you're going into a high bank turn, you can have it either tilt outside or inside, on how you want it to be done. And so a lot of the adjustability can be corrected, I think, if you have good software for your motion system.
So are you second guessing how you have yours set up and after seeing this?
No, because I actually thought I was pretty decent with what he was showing on his video. When I first set mine up, before I really started playing with the software, and to be honest with you, before I started getting some information from Steve Thompson, who fed me a lot of help with that stuff, mine was way off, and it got a lot better with the adjustments that I got from Steve Thompson.
Cool. Yeah, if you have motion or you're thinking about buying motion, take the 30 minutes and watch this video, just so you get your mind around this whole thing of inverse motion. And basically, most of the rigs out there are doing inverse what in reality should be, I guess is the way you say it.
This next seat, even though we tend to be a little bit biased towards the 80/20, is a really nice tube driver seat. It's got formula style seating, but it actually, I took a look at the site. It actually is also quickly adjustable into GT position. They'll be available for pre-order soon. And with that adjustability that they have where you can move it into GT position, it also can actually be folded up to take even less space.
Yeah, so David, this one is their second gen. Their first one, they couldn't keep in stock fast enough. They kept selling out as they go. And I've been following along because I kind of like the way that this sim is because it lets you go back and forth between GT and Formula One or the different styles. And this new one is a lot. They've refined it a lot more with it. So I'm interested to see where they price point this and how it performs.
I would love to see a video of them actually making the swap because all it's doing is going back and forth between the two adjustments. But how long of a process is that actually? Do you have to unscrew everything, or is it something where you can literally run a cup race in GT position and then go hop in the LMP, which is actually sits more in an Indy position?
There are some screenshots you can toggle between the two on the bottom of this page, David. And from what I can see, it looks like there's just knobs that you have to loosen or maybe unscrew all the way on either side of the brake tray and the wheel, or excuse me, the chair, underneath the chair, probably on either side. So it probably a few minutes would be my guess.
Well, and
I'd love to see the process.
They also offer monitor stands and stuff as well, for like a triple stand that goes with this whole thing. At least it did with their last one. I'm guessing it's probably going to be offered with this as well. But their last system took less than a minute to assemble, so this one I'm guessing it won't be much further or off of that.
There's an ultra ride stand that is actually hooked directly to the rig. There's a triple stand that sits independently.
No price. The chair looks uncomfortable though.
Well,
the real key to comfort in those chairs is having your legs raised. Really, it's what happens with the current rig I'm in. I'd never have any of the tailbone pain that I used to have when I used to race in the office chair.
I bet you that I'm guessing what's inside the seat, like, or that the foam's covering or the padding's covering. It's got to be obviously something hard inside. So is it a metal plate that's bent the way that they are, or is it whatever? But it looks like it still looks comfortable to sit in, especially when you're sitting in the Formula style too.
All right. Next one is a company review of a 80/20 profile system, sim racing shop. And they sell, we talked about them before, but I really was focused in this week on their triple monitor stand. I saw somebody who had bought it on Facebook, and man, it just looks solid. I mean, it's $269.99, so $270. It's made of 80/20. It's freestanding, black, and it's just the kind that you want. That's just rock solid. That you could build a rig or put a rig right underneath or whatever. I've just been looking for a better triple stand than what I got, which is complete garbage. You could blow on it, it would fall over. But maybe this with those new SimLab mount pieces that they were selling in conjunction with something like this would just be gold. Okay, and then Tony, you take our last one here before we go to results. The Sim Nursery.
Sim Nursery, yeah. So Johnny Malia's rig room was transformed when he found out 2 months after getting set up that he was going to be a dad. So now he's got to split that with the baby. I don't know how this is short term. Like right now, it looks great, but what's that baby cost?
I don't know about that.
We all have kids. We know that it's not possible to race in the same room that they're in.
I was trying to be optimistic.
Just ask Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, but she was full grown and knew what she was doing and still did it. Imagine toddler. I mean, even Mike, you've had the issue with crying baby and even trying when you're in the sim too, right?
Oh yeah. I got a crying baby delivered, sitting literally behind my seat while I'm in the race at Bristol Dirt, and I can't even see the baby because it's directly behind me, and I'm trying to race Bristol Dirt, and it's just screaming its head off. So yeah, it's interesting.
Now, if you wanted to bomb-proof your baby so they don't wake up at every tiny little sound, yeah, this could be a good way to do it.
The engine sounds might just lull them to sleep,
I was gonna say this is one quick way to find push you to try and buy a 2-bed or a 3-bedroom house. Eventually, a lot quicker or place.
You could just have him or her watch the middle portion of any of the Talladega races.
Could be your spotter.
Okay, and with that, we're going to head to results. We have the NASCAR iRacing series. So let's finish up from last week at Talladega. I got a P2, and I had it won. Dang it. I topped off on the last caution. I had to save fuel like crazy. I was leading on the white with second right behind me. There was nobody else. It was just me and him. And he had a bubble more fuel than I did and went right on by me out of 3 and 4. It burped a little bit coming to the line, and I was a sitting duck. Yeah, it was a bummer. I don't know what I should have done differently. Maybe to let him go or something, so I'm behind him, so he's the sitting duck. I don't know, but what a week. I won the Wednesday race. I think I got 4th on Thursday morning, and then 2nd on Friday night. David, you got P6.
Yeah, I started on the pole. The last caution kind of hurt my chances because I had to restart P2, and that is when you have a green-white checkered or a short run of any kind at the end. That's the worst place to start because everybody just continues to race to the bottom, and you just get hung out. And I did get hung out, fell all the way back to 12th, but we had enough laps that I was able to get a good run back and climbed back up to 6th.
Okay, Tony Rochette. Man, I effed myself hardcore tonight. Didn't brake hard enough. Sped on entry on a green flag stop while leading first 35. Did get a caution, but started in the back where no one could keep up and had a car on my outside, forced me down to the apron in a turn and lost the draft, P23.
Bobby had once again out front for a good amount of the race with nothing to show. He was leading, and then he got dumped in the tribal. So his quote is, "So damn close to that win." Brian, P22.
Yeah, so I started on the pole. I won the pole on that race. So, we had a good setup because I never qualify that well at Talladega or pretty much any restrictor. So we had a good set. I started in first. At the start of the race, the outside line got a good push, and he was able to get in front of me on the start. So I followed him around in second place for like the first third of the race, which went really well. A caution came out and restarted. I was in second on the restart, and just the outside line just didn't go anywhere. I just fell straight back to like 10th place and stayed there for a good part of the race. But you're in 10th place. That's kind of like right where all the danger happens. And sure enough, somebody got aggressive late in the race, caused a wreck, and I got tied up in it. Finished P22.
Okay, I think Adam Jocelyn got a P11. Good run. All right, and then Sunday Open, nobody ran. or
Yeah,
David?
I ran. I just apparently forgot to put it in. This one I was top split, I believe, and brought it home P6. We had a late restart. I was up there, and Garrett Maines and Justin Levine were swinging all the way from the wall to the apron, to the wall to the apron, blocking runs. But somehow we all managed to get through it without a major wreck, and brought it home 6th.
I finished P11. I was pretty much the more aggressive car in that race. I'm not normally aggressive at Talladega. I was trying to make moves and stuff as much as I could once we got going in that race. I was top 5 pretty much the whole race, and then I started second with 3 to go, and the outside line went and then just stalled out. At one point it just stalled out and I just couldn't go anywhere, and a lot of moving around and shaking, trying to find spots. And the nice thing is you can, I like about that track now is you can get side draft somebody, can drag them around and move them off of someone's bumper to try and gain something. But if you don't have any help behind you, you can't really complete what you're trying to do.
Yeah, it's impossible without help.
Did anybody hold on? I'm sorry, Mike. The other thing too is everybody complained this week about us. Everybody driving. For how many years have we said we want to cruise around the race and not battle and everything side by side, and now we finally do it, and everyone's complaining the opposite way.
Yeah, but this wasn't just that you would get in line. Like I said, at that restart on a green-white checkered, the outside line was just destroyed by the inside line. 4 cars on the inside could outrun 12 cars on the outside. The lanes are just not equal right now. You have to get a set of cars on the outside with 6 or so good drivers that all can stay inside the bubble to be able to sustain it. And then they usually still either just stall out right at the front next to the other cars, or one guy abandons them, drops to the inside, and then the rest of them start to stall out again.
Okay, Sunday fixed. I got a P7. Got clipped a bit and 30 seconds damage. I made my way back up to second, but actually got freight trained back to 9th with what David was just talking about. Ended up finishing 7th. Kansas. I'll start with a P28 on Wednesday Open. I got wrecked by some guy on the bottom. He got tight and came right up into me and slammed me into the wall. I was 35th, dead last at that point. Later got into another wreck, and I just could not miss it. And so P28 was the best I could do.
I came home 20th, and it was kind of a saved result. Salvaged decent finish after I lost the car and hit the wall because I was chatting with Morley. Actually, he was talking to me on the stream, checking out how the set was running, and I answered a question, and the next thing I know, I'm wiggling and popped the wall. It was only about 38 seconds of damage, but I wasn't able to get it fixed until there was about 30 laps left in the race. Once I was able to do that, got back on the lead lap, I raced up from about 27th to 20th before we just ran out of laps.
All right, Tom Dreiling was in my split. He finished 3rd. He qualified 7th, ran up front till the first pit stop, dumbed me speeding. Then worked my way back to the top where I got bumped into the front stretch grass. Fell back to 27th. Worked my way all the way to the lead with 20 or so to go, but just ran the tires off of it. I'll take a top 5 after a couple of super bad weeks.
And Rochette also made the race. He ran P7. He felt like the set was loose on exit. And then he said, screw the winner. It was a guy who has a 5K I rating and was running on his alternate account, beating up on all the low 2K guys.
Yeah, that's not cool. I knew that was one of those guys, but bummer. Thursday Open, I ran P8. Not a bad race. I did write down my notes, but not we tried a different set than we ran on Wednesday, and it's a bit tighter. I think I like the set on Wednesday better. I kept hitting the wall. It was so tight, but Tony Rochette, P16, he got tight as well, running the same set, hitting the wall and exit of 4. There was only one caution, so he couldn't catch up. And I remember now, so at the end, we were wishing for a caution, and we didn't get one. But I think if we would have got one, I might have had something for those leaders, because I was really good on a short run.
Kyle got a P7. He got to run this afternoon. He started P14. He got wrecked early, went 2 laps down, and then finally got enough lucky dogs to get back on the lead lap. The car was hurt, but he was still decently fast. He ended up with 13 cautions. That's crazy considering the other split. That helped him to save tires and slowly work his way back up to the front. He restarted P9 on the last restart, 2 to go. He kept his foot in it and picked up 2 more spots to finish with that P7.
All right, let's switch gears to official racing. I ran some Talladega opens. P3 was trying to push you, David, to a win. Then a P1 was third on the last lap, got to the leader, and he was swerving a bit, and I actually hooked him. I didn't mean to, but he was not happy with me.
Yeah, I remember that one where you tried to push me. We never timed it right, and you kept getting out of the bubble, and us losing the momentum. Kyle also had a P3 and a P4. Where he ran top 5 for most of the race. It came down to a green-white checkered in 4th. He kept the loud pedal, mashed it, and to the checkered flag up 0.05 from getting the P2. So it was real close.
And then you had a win at Watkins Glen with a massive burnout.
Yeah, how'd you like that? Last night we had a small field of LMPs, but it was still a field, and I was just like, okay, time for a burnout. It'd been a few weeks since a win, and I enjoy doing the kind of old Jimmy Johnson style burnout where you roll the brake bias forward and you get them spinning out, and you just kind of modulate the brake to make it roll straight forward. And I managed to sustain it for almost 60 seconds. Made it all the way from the start of the front stretch to the back of the front stretch. It was pretty fun.
And then, Greg, you had a video of Indycar at Sebring.
Yeah, that was disappointing finish there because I was racing. That was for 8th. I was up to 3rd. That was just after a pit stop, and I was passing a guy for 8th. And the video I play, I'll show it here on the screen, but kind of annoying. I only put that video together quickly.
Investors and drivers who don't. Car owners who know.
I just wanted to show what happened, but I was kind of pissed off that guy just couldn't give it up. He just couldn't give the position up. So I made it quickly, and yeah, it was like a 5-minute put together of that video, and just to show you guys what happened.
Yeah, I also put together a video from my league race at Fast Track Sim Racing League on Monday night. I ran and got wrecked out, and it was netcode. And the video clearly shows I'm a good 4 feet away from the guy, and the netcode dumps me and just ruins my night. I had a good race going. I think I probably would have showed pretty good, but that's going to hurt in the points. And then OBRL, the Aftermath Truck Series, congratulations goes out to Josh Robinson for winning at Lakeland Speedway, and Dwayne MacArthur second, Travis Rogers third. And with that, final thoughts. Brian McCubbin, what do you got?
I'm looking back at Talladega, just a little disappointed in the racing. It was prison dilemma racing, if you know what I mean. It's like the prison dilemma where all the prisoners can take over prison if all of them do the same thing. You know what I mean? But when you're racing and everybody's on the bottom line, nobody wants to go outside because they don't trust that somebody's going to go with you, and then you just fall to the back. It was just a little disappointing, and I do hope that they make the. I don't think it's unreasonable that if you're by yourself on the outside line that you're going to go backwards. It's just I hope that these other drivers, can figure out a way to form second lines and make the racing two lanes at Talladega, make it a little bit more exciting.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. I think we had a good showing though, but it wasn't fun.
Yeah, it's not a. I'll go ahead and jump in. It's not a hard. It's not a hard package to run, but it's just it was just too dependent. I mean, the real secret to success was stay on the bottom until the end. You know, some people would get up there and run just because they were bored, but there was just no point unless you wanted to test it out, because usually there was so little practice running too wide that it usually resulted in a caution. I will say it's kind of exciting. I took a look at the Division 1 stats for NIS this year, and I was like, oh crap, this year I'm Division 1. I'm gonna barely be on the front page, but right now as it sits, I'm sitting P7, and that's gonna shuffle a lot as drop weeks, and I'm sure I'll fall when drop weeks kick in quite a bit, but it's still pretty neat to be up there.
Yeah, especially this early. All right, and then Greg Hectus, final thoughts.
I don't know. Talladega was. I was frustrated from the Friday night race. I never got a chance to talk about it. We kind of jumped over it, but I switched cars on Friday night, or switched from the Ford to the Chevy, and I guess every time I haven't calibrated it in a while, and I missed the race, the start of the race, because I was trying to get everything set up. So, and that's the race that went caution free for me when I went a lap down for starting from the pits. So go figure, this is the one race that I needed a caution and never got it. But I look forward to this week at Kansas. It sounds like we got something to work with here. I'm also running the Indycar at Texas this week, and maybe some other road stuff sprinkling this week. And I don't know where the Euro or the IMSA series is this week, but definitely race as much as I can this weekend just to get some stuff in it. I've been too busy doing other things. I've working 50 to 60 hours. I kind of need to get lost in the sim here to ease the mind.
All right, do it. And Tony Groves, final thoughts.
Well, I really don't got a whole lot. I blew my back out on the weekend, so I've been laying on a couch for the last 5 days. Today's one of the first days where I'm actually moving around. It's kind of nice. Yeah, we had the aftermath. We talked about that, so haven't heard that yet. Go download it, subscribe to it, and yeah, racing. Well, that was pretty much out of the question. Could barely sit up this week, so that's it for me, man.
I'm with you. I'm also having back problems, and went to a chiropractor just before the show. I'm still trying to race though, but I'm racing through the pain. And hey, that's part of it when you're in a 36-week season and you're trying to get some points. Is sometimes you got to grin and bear it, and I'm glad I did. I mean, to win 2 weeks in a row, and now I'm trying to back it up for a third week in a row. I'm looking forward to Friday night. I hope I can win. I think with the right kind of cautions falling where I need them, with short runs near the end of the race, I can win this race. I won Kansas in 2015, the day that we started this podcast, and I think I can do it again. I think the old man still got it. So, man, I'm feeling a little cocky and confident after the last couple of weeks, so let's go get it. And with that, we'll see you on the track later.